Hi, my name is Chris Benedetti. I'm a principal here at Sussex Strategy Group and the head of our energy and environment practice. Welcome. And I'm joined here today with Rocco Rossi, who's the president and CEO of the Ontario Chamber of Commerce.
Great to be back on the Sussex channel.
It's great to have you here. Rocco's been doing some wonderful work of late with the Chamber around a number of different big priority files for Ontario: infrastructure, workforce, labor, and energy. And today we're going to talk a little bit about a new council that the Ontario Chamber of Commerce has started called the Ontario Energy Council. And Rocco, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Look, when we canvass our members in terms of what issues are front and center for them in terms of both obstacles and opportunities for their businesses, energy comes very, very high up on the list. And obviously, it's not simply hydro cost, although that clearly is an issue, but energy more broadly, heating and cooling, the consumption side, the production side, looking at what's happening and what needs we're going to have for transmission, and what opportunities exist in terms of new economy opportunities as the world as a whole looks to be less GHG intensive.
Mm-hmm. I know in our experience, we've worked around energy-related issues for over 2 decades, and if you look at both the production of energy, be that through electricity or thermal energy, if you look at the delivery of energy, and then if you look at the consumption of energy, it's a huge topic for businesses, for customers, certainly around Ontario. So it's not surprising that you've taken the step of forming this Energy Council.
Well, and it's that expertise that Sussex has had for over 20 years that led us to partner with you, and we're so delighted to be able to add that additional level of expertise around the table for our members. So thank you.
Well, we appreciate that, Rocco. And we've had our inaugural meeting a few weeks ago with the Energy Council. It's a wide range of different stakeholders, both on the utility side, on the production side, as well as on the customer side. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about why different companies, different utilities, different players in the sector are drawn to the Energy Council.
Well, it's so important to have a broader perspective. Look, every specific industry sector looks at it from where they're sitting. So obviously, the issues of an energy producer like a Bruce Power will be quite a different perspective than an ArcelorMittal that's running a big steel plant in Hamilton, or BOMA trying to manage properties, or the Markham District Energy Group that is dealing with heating and cooling across their municipality, and in particular in the intensive downtown area. So what's important about the council is to bring all of those perspectives together, because in a sense, it's a microcosm of what government has to wrestle with as it's coming to its public policy decisions. If you were to just answer the needs of one sector, that might have unintended consequences to a whole host of others. And so the goal of the Ontario Chamber of Commerce as the indispensable partner of business is to try to bring all of those voices together to see what are the areas that we can agree upon, and to use those as the material for our advocacy efforts with the government, to give them the best advice we have that can help square the circle.
Mm-hmm. And certainly from our perspective, the government has really created a great opportunity, I think, right now to review how we're managing things in the energy sector, both from a reliability standpoint, from a resiliency standpoint, which is a big issue for a lot of utilities, for a lot of businesses, to make sure that they have good, reliable access to energy as the needs might arise, but also to look at affordability issues. And I think that the government has started a number of different processes to look at the mix of energy that we have in Ontario, to really utilize the expertise that we have at both the Ontario Energy Board and the Independent Electricity System Operator as well as among stakeholder groups, to really address some key questions in the sector right now around things like community acceptance, reliability, as well as affordability. So it's a great opportunity to harness some of these insights to see what kinds of recommendations might come to the fore that would be really valuable for Ontarians.
You're absolutely right. I mean, go across the spectrum. You know, for our members, and we at the Ontario Chamber have a wide cross-section of the Ontario economy, because we go from very large, high consumers of energy to small businesses. 85% of our members would be small and medium-sized businesses, not necessarily enormous consumers of energy, but still that energy bill each month is an important part of the cost structure. And we've definitely seen impact, particularly in the manufacturing sector and in the heavy energy-intensive industries in the last several years, as our costs seem to have outstripped those of jurisdictions in our competitive set.
Mm-hmm. One of the observations that you had, Rocco, is just how so many of these issues are intertwined. And if you look at the compounding of things that arises in the marketplace, everything from can we get good, reliable access to energy to how do we utilize the resources that we have at our disposal, the transmission lines, the district energy systems, the expertise that we have in the industry, bringing that together through something like the Energy Council is a great opportunity. And the government is very open as well. A number of different consultations have been launched pertaining to looking at our existing contracted supply of electricity in the market, looking at how we structure industrial rates in the province. And really, those provide a great opportunity to bring people together and really think about what are ways in which we could do better. How can we optimize assets in a more cost-effective and efficient way? And ultimately, how do we lead to outcomes that are going to be more affordable for both residential customers as well as business customers? And I know certainly energy, not just electricity, but also thermal energy, heating and whatnot, is a huge concern for a lot of people in this province. Certainly if you look at people that are trying to transition to not only cleaner forms of energy, but also more affordable forms of energy, there's a lot of work to do.
Hugely, and look at, again, as the indispensable partner of business, the Ontario Chamber is also very much aware and attuned to the issues of what the cost of different programs end up being. One of the things that becomes very clear when you spend any time looking at our energy grid and our energy sector here in Ontario is that there's an enormous fixed cost base. So there are no easy, simple answers to suddenly wipe away cost. And what effectively has been happening is a major subsidization on the part of the taxpayer for the energy users. Very often the same people, but we have to look at those long-term consequences also to the fiscal reality of this province, because deficits inevitably lead to higher taxes down the line, and that is something our members are also very concerned about, and wanting to make sure that as we're making decisions, we're looking at the full lifetime cost of those decisions.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the very exciting things for us that makes the council so valuable is that it's going to be harnessing input from not only businesses and utilities and producers like Bruce Power and others that are in the space, but also from the member chambers as well. So having that perspective from local communities really across the province, I think, is pivotal.
It's enormous. It's one of the great strengths of the chamber. We represent some 135 local chambers and boards of trade in every corner of this province, who in turn represent over 60,000 businesses. So a significant portion of the Ontario economy. And again, when you're looking at small and medium-sized businesses, they also are affected by the consumer rates because effectively that's the rate at which they are being charged, and they themselves are members of the community. They see what's happening with their neighbors. They see family and friends struggling with bills, and so this really brings a very clear focus to our discussions.
So I know at our first meeting, we had a big group of people around the table. We started to gather people's feedback at a fairly high level. And it was very, very exciting for me because quite often we're dealing with various different segments of the sector and very much different segments of business and communities. But to have everybody in a single room like that, I think is indeed a great opportunity. And I know some of the issues that were tabled that we're going to be working on are fairly diverse. So this isn't an overnight exercise. I know, Rocco, that we're going to be meeting really over the next year on a series of big, important topics. And I think it's going to take some time to really peel apart the layers of the onion and really get at the heart of how can we provide recommendations, how can we bring forward ideas that are going to be impactful and hopefully very useful for sector stakeholders, for communities, but also ultimately for government.
Absolutely, and we also, while the process will be long and ongoing, I don't see that issue going away in 12 months. Our point and the point of the council is really not to produce yet another report that's going to sit on a shelf somewhere. But as we go along, as there's consensus around strong ideas, is to begin the advocacy on those ideas as soon as possible. So, I certainly don't want to, nor do our members want to wait for a year before recommendations start to go out. And I know there's an openness on the part of the government through their consultation process to get those ideas coming sooner rather than later.
I think it really helps to elevate the conversation as well, certainly for the member chambers, for the businesses that are in the room. Certainly our experience is that people understand their part of the puzzle, as it were, in terms of how they can bring good solutions to come forward that deals with their respective piece of the equation. But to have everybody together is really a great opportunity, I think, to look at planning issues, to look at production issues, to look at consumption issues, to look at cost issues, and to look at that not only in a segmented way, but look at the totality of some of those issues and how we can come up with some good solutions.
Absolutely. It's impossible for any individual to completely take off their personal hat at the door, if you will. They're going to be bringing that perspective, but having those multiple perspectives around the table, I think just leads to better ideas and broader perspective by each of the players who can then use both their own industry or perspective filter and add to it the filters that the others are helping to provide them with.
And I must say, certainly from a Sussex standpoint, we're very proud to be working with the Ontario Chamber of Commerce in this exercise and to work with the great policy staff that you have at the Chamber. It's a wonderful team of people, and we're absolutely thrilled to bring our team and the expertise that we have together with Rocco, you and your team, in order to help move this process forward. So we're really excited about the opportunity.
As are we, and then the most important team is actually the team of our members, because they bring an expertise and a lived experience which is critical to coming to the right answers.
Great. Rocco, thank you very much. For all of you, thank you very much for watching. And hopefully for those of you who aren't already members of the council, you'll consider joining it. Thank you very much again. Thanks.
Have a great day.